These are the 7 levels of WWE wrestlers, starting with Level 1, the Jobber. The Jobber exists for one purpose: to take L's and make other wrestlers look good. These are the wrestlers who show up, take their beating, and disappear into the night. Most of the time, jobbers don't even get entrance music. James Ellsworth embodied this role perfectly as a chinless underdog who somehow stumbled into a storyline with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. Curt Hawkins set a record with 269 consecutive losses, turning his jobber status into a full-blown gimmick. You also have the local enhancement talent who gets squashed in under 2 minutes to establish a monster heel like Ryback or Strowman. Some jobbers carve out lengthy careers in this role. Funaki spent years losing matches but became beloved enough to hang around as a backstage interviewer. Akira Tozawa remains stuck in catering, occasionally emerging to get squashed by someone like The Miz or Rhea Ripley. The jobber's life is thankless. They arrive at the arena knowing they'll lose, collect their paycheck, and hope that someday they'll get an opportunity to climb higher and become a key part of the main roster. But while the jobbers start at the bottom of the barrel, some wrestlers skip this level and start directly at Level 2. Around 2014, NXT became the proving ground for upcoming stars and indie wrestlers to refine their craft before moving to the main roster. They're too big to be jobbers, but this is where the machine decides if you're ready for the bright lights of Raw and SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura arrived in NXT as a legit star from New Japan Pro Wrestling with a cult following. His matches against Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe were instant classics, and the King of Strong Style was soon moved to the main roster. Kevin Owens dominated NXT as the prizefighter before debuting on Raw by attacking John Cena and immediately establishing himself as a major player. Names like Samoa Joe, Asuka, Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, and many more navigated this same level before getting called up to the main roster. Currently, stars like Trick Williams, Ricky Starks, Blake Monroe, and others in NXT are going through this same phase. They're champions and key players in NXT, but WWE isn't confident enough to give them the call up to next level yet. This level is make or break because either you adapt and ascend or you flounder here for ages before eventually getting released. But for those who survive the transition, the next level awaits. The midcard is WWE wrestlers who appear regularly, have recognizable characters, and occasionally win matches, but never threaten the main event scene. They might get a brief run with the IC title or the US title, but they rarely get a taste at the big gold that is held by the top dogs. Grayson Waller perfectly represents this level. He's good on the mic, decent in the ring, and wins enough to stay relevant but loses whenever someone important needs a victory. He's in that comfortable zone where he's employed and featured on TV, but ultimately replaceable. Guys like Solo Sikoa, Damian Priest, Carmelo Hayes, and Rusev are other midcard stars on the current rosters. Midcarders often wrestle in multi-man matches, challenge for midcard titles, and work solid matches that people forget about by next week. Wrestlers can spend entire careers here, working hard, doing everything asked of them, but never getting that elusive push to the next level. But for those rare few who capture lightning in a bottle, they advance to the next level where real opportunities finally start to emerge. The upper midcard is where wrestlers become legitimate stars without quite reaching the top of the mountain. These are the guys who main event B-shows, challenge for world titles occasionally, and can be slotted into the main event picture. But they're not the face of the company. The Miz is the ultimate example of this level. He's a former WWE champion, multi-time Intercontinental champion, and one of the most reliable performers on the roster. He can cut promos, work consistently safe matches, and elevate younger talent. But despite all his accomplishments, nobody genuinely believes The Miz will ever be the face of the WWE again. Dolph Ziggler spent his entire prime trapped here. He had the talent, the look, the crowd support, but WWE never fully committed to him. He'd put on great matches, hold the IC and US title, but whenever he got a world title shot, he'd lose and drop back to the midcard. His career became a frustrating loop of almosts and what-ifs. Dominic Mysterio recently ascended to this level after feuding with John Cena and reclaiming the IC title. He's not ready for the world title yet, but he's big enough to be a key part of the roster and feud with the major guys. Sheamus represents the ceiling of this level, a multi-time world champion who's respected, featured prominently, and can beat almost anyone on any given night. But his days of carrying the company are far behind him. The upper midcard is simultaneously rewarding and limiting. These wrestlers make great money, work regularly, and have job security. But there's always that nagging question if they have what it takes to reach main event status. However, when everything aligns perfectly, some wrestlers transcend this level and become true main event players. Main event players are the wrestlers who consistently compete for world championships and headline pay-per-views, but haven't quite become the undisputed face of the company. Seth Rollins embodies this level perfectly. He's a multi-time world champion, one of the best in-ring performers of his generation, and capable of carrying any major storyline. He consistently has major matches at WrestleMania. He's held the company together during transitional periods and reinvented himself repeatedly to stay relevant. But he's never been the guy in the way Roman Reigns or John Cena were. He's always been the number 2 option. CM Punk's WWE title run in 2012 demonstrated both the power and limitations of this level. He became WWE champion and held the title for 434 days, but he was never positioned as the face of the company. WWE still positioned John Cena above him, giving Cena the marquee matches and promotional push while Punk main evented the B-level pay-per-views. Main event players are expected to deliver in high-pressure situations, work hurt when necessary, and help younger talent develop. They're not quite irreplaceable, but losing them creates noticeable holes in the card. Main event players rotate in and out of the title picture based on booking needs and creative direction. They might be champion for months, then spend the next year chasing or working programs with other main eventers. But there's one level higher, a level so rare that only a handful of wrestlers per generation achieve it. The face of the company isn't just the top star. They are the company in the eyes of casual fans and mainstream media. These are the wrestlers non-fans recognize, the one who appears on talk shows and magazine covers. Cody Rhodes currently occupies this role as the WWE champion. Before him, Roman Reigns held the throne after the longest world title reign of the modern era. These wrestlers don't just main event shows. The entire show is structured around their matches and storylines. John Cena defined this level for over a decade as the PG-era superhero. Love him or hate him, Cena was WWE's most reliable draw, their corporate representative, and their connection to mainstream audiences. WWE's entire business model revolved around Cena's availability and positioning. Hulk Hogan in the 1980s was the original template of this role, a cultural phenomenon who transcended wrestling and became a legitimate celebrity. Stone Cold Steve Austin during the Attitude Era embodied this level as his star power saved WWE from bankruptcy and defeated WCW in the Monday Night Wars. The face of the company carries immense pressure. They make far more money than everyone else, but they also sacrifice privacy and sometimes their bodies to maintain that position. But even faces of the company eventually step aside, and if they've done everything right, they transition into something even more valuable. Legends are wrestlers who've transcended their active careers and become permanent fixtures in WWE's history. They're not grinding on the road full-time. They show up for major events, work programs with current stars to pass the torch, and maintain their mystique through carefully managed appearances. The Undertaker was the perfect representation of this level during the later stages of his career when he'd show up during Mania season, defend his streak, and disappear for the rest of the year. Edge returned from a career-ending neck injury in 2020. And when he came back, he didn't need to rebuild his credibility. He was instantly slotted into main events, won the Royal Rumble, and challenged for world titles because his legend status guaranteed that he'd draw fans. The Legend's role is crucial for WWE's continuity. They connect different generations of fans, wrestle in dream matches, and give current stars credibility through association. Beating a legend doesn't diminish them. It elevates the younger wrestler while the legend remains untouchable because their body of work speaks for itself. But a select few wrestlers ascend beyond this level and reach the next one where their name becomes immortal. Hall of Fame wrestlers are those who defined entire eras and whose careers represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in professional wrestling. They don't just have memorable moments, they have moments that changed the industry's direction. Names like Roddy Piper, the Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Hart, Dusty Rhodes, these guys weren't just legends. They laid the foundation for what pro wrestling would become. Shawn Michaels is the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, the Showstopper, a wrestler who literally wrote the book on how to perform at the highest level. His matches with The Undertaker at consecutive WrestleManias are considered the greatest in history. His latter match with Razor Ramon revolutionized the industry. The Undertaker spent 3 decades building the most iconic character in wrestling history. When Undertaker's gong hits, it doesn't matter if you're a current fan or haven't watched wrestling in 20 years. You stop and pay attention. Hall of Fame wrestlers become immortal. Their merchandise sells forever. Their matches get packaged in every nostalgia collection, and new generations discover them through WWE Vault and YouTube. But even among these immortals, there's one final level, reserved for the absolute rarest of performers who belong on the Mount Rushmore of WWE. The GOAT is a title reserved for wrestlers who transcended the industry itself and became global cultural icons. The Rock is the ultimate example of this level. Dwayne Johnson became the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, then leveraged that into becoming the biggest movie star on the planet. His promos are quoted daily on social media, his matches are studied by every generation of performers, and when he returns for special appearances, it feels like a big deal. John Cena is another undisputed GOAT. Due to his Make-A-Wish appearances and Hollywood career, Cena has ascended the WWE and become a mainstream figure that is known globally. What separates GOATs from Hall of Famers is cultural relevance. Guys like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart are revered by wrestling fans, but The Rock and Stone Cold are known by people who've never even watched a single match in their lives. But speaking of great wrestlers, check out this video next to find out who was the best WWE wrestler from every year.